Happy Friday, friends. This is Neil Adler with another episode of Syracuse Central on the Fan Arch Network. How was everyone's week? Flew by pretty quickly for me. A little depressing. Oh gosh, I hope Syracuse wins on Saturday against Miami. It's just that all the negativity, and understandably so, but it stinks. Anyway, this is Syracuse Central. We talk about Syracuse football, basketball, and recruiting in both sports. Please drop me comments about what you like and you don't like and what you want to hear about. And subscribe if you haven't already. We want to build up this community. We'll talk about Miami in a second, but I did want to kind of like get a little bit more into the Virginia Tech loss and just the team and the state of the program and Adrian Autry, who's pretty when it comes to like press conferences and stuff like that. And again, he's only been, this is his third year as a head coach, but he's not quite as curmudgeon-y and demonstrative as a Jim Boeheim was, or plenty of other head coaches. And maybe part of it is, he's still kind of in his third year as a head coach. It's just part of his personality. But he did drop an F-bomb in his presser. And, again, this Syracuse team, it was a quadrant 2 game against Virginia Tech. They're up by double digits at one point. They're up 7 at the half. They ended up losing by 2. And Virginia Tech had, extended that, after they came back to go ahead, they extended the lead. And in the end, Syracuse had chances to tie it up, and they missed a rebound off of a Virginia Tech free throw, and I think it was Nate Kings had a three-pointer that could have tied it up with I think it was 15 or 20 seconds left, and it was a good look, and but then he said something, Autry said, then we get another chance, after the Kings miss, we get another chance, and we walk under the effing basket, under the rim, and we don't get the rebound. And, again, I think this is emblematic of of Autry. I know there are a lot of fans out there that are like, get rid of Autry, get rid of this staff, and fine, maybe that's but it's he's still a human being. And I know when you are a head coach of a major college athletic program, whether it's basketball, football, or, and making upwards of $1 million, you're in the public spotlight. I get that. But I don't know. It's just so many people are trashing him on social media, and it's it sucks. It sucks, and I get it. And he even said, yeah, I understand the fans' frustration. He said, we're going to refocus and we're going to fight, fight, fight. And so, I'm not saying they won't. But, I don't know. It's some fans are talking about, oh, should we fire him now? But, none of the other assistants are didn't do any better. And one person was asking me, I don't remember if it was on Syracuse Central or it might have been, I don't remember. It might have been in one of the chat forums. And I don't know. It doesn't matter. But they were saying, if Autry's retained, how many players would come back? And it's on the one hand, if they're struggling, then maybe he's not the right guy for the job. But if I'm being honest, guys like Donnie Freeman, and others, they came here because of this staff, because of Autry. So if Autry is let go and the staff is let go, they're not gonna stay. I mean, unless the new coach that comes in is amazing or has a prior relationship with some of these guys, that have eligibility left. So it's just it's just frustrating because it's and Autry, this was one other quote talking about his team. They've got to grow up, which they will. They're young men. They've got to respond. It's all you can do. Everyone has to respond. We've got to respond. We've got to look at the film. We've got to go get better and get prepared. That's the only thing you can do right now. And look, Autry doesn't want to lose. He knows his job is on the line, and that's added pressure that kind of stinks too. But it's just this team on paper, oh God, I don't want to harp on this, but it's coming in, you've got Nate Kings, who led the ACC in assists last year per game. Tyler Betsy was a former top 50 national recruit in the 2024 class and was a former Syracuse recruit, so familiarity with the staff. William Kyle III was, underrated and didn't play much last year because of the system at UCLA, and also he did have some injuries. So, but he's been great. Um, Nate Kings, he's been a little up and down, but he's shooting better, and he's a solid player. And then you got two top 30 national prospects in the 2025 prep class in Kyan Anthony and Sadiq White. And then you've got Donnie Freeman, who, well, I know he struggled. He struggled with turnovers against BC, and he missed that. I know he missed that front end, but he struggled against Virginia Tech. I get that, but he could be a lottery, maybe not a lottery pick, but he could be a first round pick, no question about it. And then Starling, Starling's. I don't know. I don't know if like his career has turned out better or worse than I anticipated. He was a top 25 national prospect. I think it was in the 2022 class. Was obviously from Baldwinsville, but played at La Lumiere, which is one of the best schools programs out there at the high school level. He was a McDonald's All American, and he's had some injury stuff, and he's been good. He's not amazing, but he's solid. Like I don't people crap on. I don't know. My point is you like look up and down this roster, and it's like they got some stuff here, and it's just like, and it's like recently they've shot the ball more better from three and a little more efficient, and they are getting their free throw percentage as a team up, and and they lost that game to Clemson. I get that with Freeman back. It was his first game. Clemson's a good team. And then you win 3 in a row. I'm not saying it was the greatest competition, but then you lose to BC, and then you blow this lead against Virginia Tech. And it's not even just losing to Tech, because Tech could end up in the NCAA tournament. It's just you're up 7 at the half. You get outscored 16-2 in points off turnovers in the second half. Your offense stalls, which it's like they can't put two complete halves together. The free throw disparity, it is what it is. But it's just like, But it was interesting, seeing Autry drop an F-bomb like that, because that is not him. But good, maybe he should get more fired up. I'm not saying he has to be like Boeheim, who's just like, total spazoid. I mean, and I love Jim Boeheim. I mean, I'm old school Syracuse, old school Big East. But yeah, I mean, most people are prognosticating at this point that at 12-7, 3-3 in the league, unless they go on a crazy run, anything short of winning the ACC tournament, they're probably not going to get in the NCAA tournament, and that sucks. Because I do think this team has some stuff there, but it's not all coming together. And I don't think that's all on Autry and the coaching staff. A lot of it is he's the head coach, and I'm not there at practice. I don't know what goes on, but like, I don't know. I mean, committing turnovers, not making your free throws, like, obviously they should have fouled up 3 against BC. They should have won that game. Hofstra game, blah blah blah. It's like they're like a handful of points away from, instead of being 12-7, being like 16-3 or 15-4 or 17-2. I mean, really, the only games they got blown out. I mean, I know they lost by 8 to Boston College, but that was in overtime and things fell apart. But they lost by 11 to Kansas. I believe it was 11. And they got crushed in that second half, and I'm losing by 30 to Iowa State. But every other, they lost by 4 to Houston. They lost by 1 to Hofstra. They lost by 3 to Clemson. They lost by 8 to BC. 2 to Virginia Tech. A lot of close games. I'm sad. Anyway. So it was interesting because Donnie Freeman, this is why I like this guy a lot. He literally took the blame for Syracuse losing these last 2 games at BC last Saturday, and then this past Wednesday night at home against Virginia Tech. Here's his quote: "Nobody's fault but mine. I'm taking full ownership for these past 2 games. It's an uphill battle from here. We just got to take it day by day, and I got to get better. And like, look, against BC, when he missed the front end of that 1-1, but I think he was 5 of 6 from the free throw line, which is 83%. He had 7 turnovers, but so did Nathan George. He did have, I think, 19 points, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, can you really blame him for everything? No. And then this past game, he struggled. He was like 3 or 14, 3 15 from the field. Didn't do much. He had a couple of turnovers. But like, really, man? Like, is it really? And yes, the mixed free throw box out towards the end, that stinks. But still, is like, is it really? Is everything his fault? Is it all on him? No. They were outscored 16-2 points off turnovers in the second half against Virginia Tech. Did he commit all those turnovers? No, I don't think so. Hope I'm not speaking out of my butt there, but I don't think so. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, so not boxing on a free throw, not hitting a free throw, all this in crunch time when you're either winning by a little bit or losing by a little bit and have a chance to win both games and you end up losing. So I get all that. And yes, he struggled from field. Virginia Tech was smart with him and how they played him, making him a jump shooter. But he was like averaging 21, 22 points a game, something like that. I'm sorry. And here's another quote. Honestly, I'm as hard on myself as anybody else. I feel like I've let my team down and the fans and everybody around me these past 2 games. It's not an easy pill to swallow. It's time to put this behind me and get ready to get a big win against Miami that we desperately need. Every game from here on out, we got to play with desperation. I got to be better for us and the fans. I don't know. Since I'm like been a writer my whole life, I like words in English, and all that stuff. And so desperation, yeah, I guess. Urgency. Yeah, I guess they gotta really operate. Look, if they went out and ended up at 24-7 in the regular season, then they're gonna get in the tournament. But sure. But I mean, think about it. Like no joking aside. Like, so they're 12-7. I feel like they needed at least 21 or 22 regular season wins to have a shot. Not factoring in not knowing what they're gonna do in the ACC tournament. But so if they're 12-7. And with 12 left, 22-9, that's 10-2. That probably ain't gonna happen. 21-10, 9-3, 20-11, which I think is the lowest, short of winning the ACC tournament, the lowest I feel like they could even have a shot in terms of a regular season record and still winning multiple games in the ACC tournament, but not maybe winning the whole thing, would be 20-11. But that's still 8-4. And they've got they've got Miami, they've got NC State, they got Virginia, they got Carolina twice, they got Duke, they got Louisville. Maybe it'll just be like the Syracuse thing though. They'll have stunk it up against a Hofstra and a BC and coughed up the lead to Virginia Tech, but then they'll go beat some of these great, these quote unquote better teams. Who knows? Who knows? But if they go 7-5 or something, if they're like 19-12, 18-13, even if they win a game or two in the ACC tournament, they're not getting in, and Autry's going to get fired, and I don't want that. But it's just not. It's not a good feeling right now. Speaking of not good feelings, oh man, y'all crushed. I love the viewer comments, but man, some of these are rough. Joe Filippelli, my man. I love Joe. See him all the time on Loud House and other places. We got our biggest lead with JJ and George on the bench. That tells you all you need to know about our coach. I mean, I hear you, Joe, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess that, what does that say if our point guard, our true point guard that we probably played a lot of money for in NIL, rev share, whatever, and then JJ, our veteran, if they're on the bench and we're getting the biggest lead, then does that mean that, like, we've talked about this ad nauseum, guys like Kyan should be getting more run. I don't know. I truly don't know at this point. I've talked about. I mean, I don't think like Luke Fennell is. I don't think he's ready to really, have a big role. But like, Should we put Kyan at the 1 and Nate Kings at the 2 if they're producing? I don't even know, like, and of course I'm not the coach, so it's not my job to know, but it's my job to give thoughts and not sound like a complete moron on this show. I I mean, George only had, I think he had 3 assists and 1 turnover. I think he only scored 6 points, but he's just so inconsistent. JJ, like, he's okay. Like, he's just, I don't know. I just don't know. But I feel like, honestly, and like, this is not me throwing shade at Kyan, but I feel like if he was playing like 30, 35 minutes a game, maybe he'll score. I mean, and I know he had a couple good games once JJ was out. I think the first 2 games of the season. But like, he's a freshman, he would probably struggle some from the field. He hasn't been shooting well from 3 all season. He'd probably have some turnovers. Maybe not. It's just hard. It's probably hard for Autry to be like, yeah, we're gonna sit our senior leader, so to speak, and our point guard, our junior point guard who led the league in assists last year, and we're gonna put in, I don't know. I don't have the answer. So I feel you, Joe. I do. JR Colon 76 says, I have a case of the Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. This loss sucks. Freaking sorry program with no vision. Huge fan, but this is ridiculous. Red must go. Okay, that's fair. Tyler Query, this is a good one. I know it's early, but do you have any coaching candidates that you personally like or that you have heard to potentially look out for? Do you think the potential new coaches' geographical background matters, where they recruit from? Assumingly he recruits from, areas of countries he's been? It's a great question. I honestly don't have like any inside info on like who they might. I don't. And obviously some people would say, oh, like, let's get GMAC or something like, but I don't know if that's the move either. In terms of recruiting, I mean, it's interesting because with portal recruiting becoming more of an emphasis and high school recruiting still being important, but not quite the same level, like, yeah, I guess you want to have someone that like has good roots in like the DMV, the Philly market, obviously New York, New Jersey, but elsewhere is cool too. Other states, kind of like even you talk about it with football. I mean, with Fran Brown, they've certainly branched out beyond their general kind of recruiting focus for the program, even well before Fran Brown was there. The Northeast, yeah, New York, New Jersey, like I said, the DMV, Philly, Massachusetts, Connecticut, all those places. But then, yeah, they're killing in the football team and they're crushing it in Florida. They've gotten guys from Texas, California. I don't remember if they've gotten any, or that one guy decommitted, Jackson Gates. Georgia, Ohio, like, so I don't have any particular one in mind. Like, I'm trying to remember, like, way back when, and I know if you go to SyracuseFan.com, they have like threads about this, and like, I don't read too much of those right now. Like, no disrespect, I just, because it's like, I'm trying to just focus on the season. If it becomes clear that Red is going to get fired, because I'm still not saying it's clear, I think it could be likely, but I'm not saying, then maybe I'll start to look into that to talk about it on this show and on, when I write for Inside Loud House. But right now, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have, like, again, would it be a guy that's like crushing it at the mid-major level? Would it be a guy that's, I assume they would want to hire someone that has head coaching experience, since it, didn't work out. If it didn't work out with Autry, and he obviously did not have head coaching experience, associate head coach and that sort of thing. But let's get Nate Oates. No, and that's the thing. It'd be tough. Like, Syracuse is still probably a pretty good job, but the team's struggled in recent years. And frankly, other than the first year in the ACC, they haven't been good in the ACC. They've had, a few big dance runs that kind of mask that, the 16 Final Four, the 18 and the 21 Sweet 16s. But, certainly those sanctions from way back when hurt. Hopkins leaving hurt. Some guys getting injured or leaving early for the pros hurt. the uncertainty over when Boeheim will retire, all that stuff factors in. I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving context. But in terms of bringing who to bring in, I have no freaking clue. I have no clue. No clue. Bring in Danny Hurley. I got it. I'm sorry. I just got it. Doug Gottlieb. Bring in Doug Gottlieb. There. You're welcome. But seriously, y'all drop some. I mean, I know I kind of danced around that question because I don't have anyone specific right now. But if you have people in mind, I'd sure love to know about it. Sure love to know about it. My Max 777 writes, the one thing really good teams all have in common is excellent guard play, particularly in the last 6 or 7 minutes of the game. Syracuse is not beating that consistently in a number of years. If you think back to all the great teams in the past, SU always seem to have a great guard. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. Like I said, Nate George has been inconsistent, and they've had other inconsistent guard play in recent years. You know, I think back to some of those just dope years from like 09 to 13/14, and you had, you know, Brandon Trish, who was just a solid point guard, most wins ever in the pro. You know, he went 121 and 26, 121 wins, 26 losses in his 4 years. That's insane. You know, Scoop was a little scoopish, but he was good. You know, Tyler Ennis. You know, but certainly in more recent years, like, and I like Michael Benejet, but you know, it didn't work out with like Caleb Joseph. Obviously, Kadari moved on. Carlos last year. You know, uh, see, that's the thing about this team. It's like on paper, you say, oh snap, we got Nate George. He led the ACC in assists. He's a junior, so he's got experience, but you know, and he's gonna thrive again. And JJ's not been terrible, but he's been okay. But it does say something that like, and you know, part of it is, and I know other media members have talked about this. It's like, what's now that Donnie's back? Consist like what's their identity on offense? Is it like give the ball to him, throw up lobs to William Kyle, get Nate King's a three, JJ or Nate George drive to the hoop? It's like they got capable guys, but like who is the guy? I guess it's Donnie, but you know, I don't know. But I hear you, my Mac. Like guard play has definitely not been amazing in recent years. All right, we'll wrap up with this. This is a little depressing, but I hear you. Dennis Potvin 9766. This is pretty rough, but okay, I get it. It's like watching street ball. No organized offense. Red needs to walk away. Whatever position Bam has needs to be eliminated. I don't know about that, but Jimmy's name needs to be sandblasted off the hardwood. 47 years and only one championship. The athletic director needs to be, and I'll just say, fired. Every coach needs to be shown the exit, burn the program to the ground, then rebuild with a fresh program. The red Jimmy era needs to end. That's definitely a little over the top for me in terms of if you want a fresh start with, you know, a new head coach, an outsider, not from the Boeheim family tree, assuming it doesn't work out red, cool, no problem. Like, take his name off the court. I mean, yes, he only won one championship in 47 years, but he went to 5 Final Fours as a head coach, a couple national title games. There's plenty of other head coaches that would kill for that. So, but I get it. And he also had one losing season in 47 years. And he went to like, I think like, what was it, 35 NCAA tournaments, 20 Sweet 16s or something. I mean, like, I get where you're coming from, and especially the last 2 years with Boeheim before he retired or was fired or whatever it was. I've heard different stories about that. You know, they weren't that good either. He had his first losing season, and then they just, you know, they went to the Sweet 16 in 2021 when it was the COVID year, but yeah, they've been kind of blah. So, you know, if it doesn't work out with Red, I'm all for a fresh start with a different, you know, a new coaching staff that comes in outside the family tree. It'll be kind of weird to not see some of those former Syracuse players on the bench, but maybe that's what they need. We'll see. We'll see. But great comments all around from everyone. Sorry, it's a little negative Nancy today, but you know, that's just kind of where we are. Oh wait, did I talk about Miami? Did I talk about Miami? I totally forgot to talk about Miami. I skipped over Miami. Sorry. I'm a knucklehead. So in terms of the Miami game, I goofed that up a little bit. Um, Look, Miami's pretty good. They're 15-4 overall. They've lost two straight. I think it was to Clemson and Florida State. They're like 37 in the net. Oh, no, that's Ken Palm. Where are they in the net? 36. So if they are inside the top 30, it could be a quad one for Syracuse. You know, they score a ton. They score 85 points per game. And they shoot 51% from the field. Not great from the free throw line or from beyond the arc. You know, they have some good wins. Their losses: Florida, the defending national champ; BYU, which is a pretty good team; Clemson, and the Florida State loss. That was kind of interesting. But Miami's good. They got a first-year head coach in Jai Lucas. I believe came from, was he an assistant at Duke, if I remember correctly? Look, the bottom line for me with this game is certainly Syracuse needs their defense to be pretty solid against a team that averages 85 points per game. They need to put two halves together where it's like consistent. Limiting turnovers, limiting giving up points off turnovers, limiting not allowing the other team to get to the free throw line a ton is best, avoiding fouling as much as possible. Be efficient from deep, be efficient from the field, have flow on offense where you're sharing the ball and have a good amount of assists in both halves. You do all those things, I think they'll be okay, and they'll have a shot to win. But they need this game. Even if they have little to no shot ultimately of getting the NCAA tournament, you just want to start to. You had that 3-game winning streak, and then you've lost two straight, and the fan base is really pissed off, and Autry is frustrated. Everyone's frustrated. So let's get a solid win. It's one of the junior days for Syracuse football, I believe. So there'll be a lot of high school football recruits in there, cheering on the. So let's just settle down. We got this. Most importantly, give me score predictions. And the game is at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the ACC network. Yep, ACC network. So I'll be watching. I'll have updates on Inside the Loud House. But let's get a win and let's get back into positive thinking. That's going to do it for today's edition of Syracuse Central on the Fan Arch Network. I am your humble host, Neil Adler. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Continue to drop me comments about what you like and you don't like. I love all the comments. I love all the back and forth, even when we don't agree on everything. And hopefully Syracuse will get a win on Saturday. Have a great rest of your Friday, a great weekend. We'll get back into all this stuff on Monday. Take care, friends.